How Russia almost cooked us all.
The entire planet
or almost destroyed the entire planet?
During the Cold War, the USSR feared that American nukes could hit its soil at any time. And if all of Russia...
Are we about to talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis? Or is there something I'm not aware of here?
Nukes could hit its soil at any time.
Okay.
And if all of Russia was destroyed, it wouldn't even be able to take revenge. This is why USSR developed the Dead Hand system. This system was installed to detect nuclear activity over Russia, and if it detected that Russia was gone, it wouldn't even require permission to launch all 30,000 nuclear warheads towards the USA, which would have probably flattened the entire Earth.
Okay, I thought we were going to be talking about a specific event. Oh, that's nice. The system remains in use in the post-Soviet Russian Federation. Fantastic! Basically, it's here to maintain a second strike capability by ensuring that the destruction of the Soviet leadership would not have prevented the Soviet military from releasing its weapons. You know, to be fair, the US probably has something somewhat similar. I don't know if it's exactly in this form, but more than likely we had something like that. I mean, it's probably not exactly a dead hand procedure, but there's got to be something they have in mind. I mean, I don't know about Russia almost cooking us. We would have to cook them first in order for them to retaliately cook us. Does that make sense? USA, yay, we finally defeated the USSR. A few minutes later, USSR, if I go down, everyone goes down with me. I'm assuming the US knew about this, and if they did launch nukes whilst knowing the consequences, it would probably be their fault. USA headshot, USSR auto self-destruct activated. 5 minutes later, everyone back to the lobby. We have a rule in Russia, if we lose, no one wins. That video is by Happy Earth, the most dangerous countries for World War III. Obviously, we've talked about, yes, like the safest countries. You're looking at New Zealand, nations in the Pacific like Palau or Fiji. But which ones are the worst places to be? I mean, it's obviously going to be the USA. You definitely don't want to be in the US for World War III if there are nuclear missiles launching. But you know what? Well, let's just see if the video does say the USA.
Stay in the next World War.
Because historically speaking,
in the United States,
there it is. Okay, well, what I was going to say is historically speaking, the US actually has been a great place during the world wars because there's no fighting that happens in North America. It almost always causes the destruction of Europe, this continent, which, fun fact, is why the USA came out of both world wars so powerful, because they were the only ones that were built. They were the only ones that had industry left. However, with the possibility of a World War III in the modern era, I mean, who knows? Maybe Europe will actually be safe. It all depends on if nukes are being launched, I guess. Do you also want to be in the USA? Because we're mainly going to have to be in the front lines, let's say protecting Taiwan or our allies in Asia against China. Europe would have to be probably the ones that fight Russia. It's hard to say. I would agree probably the USA, just to be safe, it is probably going to be one of the more dangerous places.
Chicago, Houston,
LA,
Los Angeles,
yes,
San Francisco, and Washington, D.C.,
yes,
then you're really cooked. In
yes,
Russia,
and I feel like there's going to be a big, like, all the comment sections are going to be like, oh, this guy's fear-mongering, things like that. Of course, he picked the biggest cities. It's not about that. Like, if the U.S. is in a nuclear war, World War III, then yeah, the biggest cities are going to get hit first. So he's actually right. Now, if you live in rural America, you're probably going to have a way better chance. Kim Jong-un is probably not considering blowing up a random state like Montana or whatever. No offense to Montana, but I just think that's probably going to be on the bottom part of his list on what to launch a nuke at first, which I guess you should kind of consider that a good thing.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah, don't be in those cities.
Then you're really cooked. In Russia, the areas around Moscow and St. Petersburg would be risky to stay at.
I mean, I would say pretty much everything in the western side of Russia, and that's where all their population is. This is literally where pretty much all their power comes from. They're not going to launch random nukes somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Siberia. So yeah, definitely don't be in the US or Russia.
Coastal cities like Beijing,
yes, definitely don't
Shanghai,
be in China.
And Guangzhou are dangerous.
Absolutely.
Already the South China Sea region is a full hotspot, and North Korea would be blown up to pieces due to its size, so better get out of there.
You better get out of there. I'm glad this person is warning all the North Korean people to get out of North Korea. In the case of World War III, if it's not World War III, I mean, maybe you could stay. Well, a lot of North Korean soldiers are actually on the front lines of Russia now, right, too? So I don't think a single person in North Korea is watching. Hey, you never know. I got a view from North Korea once. Commentator, if you live in North Korea, get out. North Korean, how? Really shocked this video didn't even mention Europe. Definitely Europe should be included. Pretty much all the major cities there as well. Yeah, the fact that Europe didn't even get a shout out is kind of crazy. A lot of the southern hemisphere is usually pretty safe in a lot of World War III projections, but if I had to pick one least safe country, I think out of everyone it would have to be Australia. Australia would obviously side with the USA, and in a World War III scenario, we'd be fighting China. China might really mess up the Aussies down here. Who knows? Another safe place would probably be Antarctica, but that's also because Antarctica is never safe in general. Antarctica is basically always dealing with the World War III, just considering the weather down there. That video is by Mr. Geo. Here's another one by him. This one's called Most Americans Don't Know This. Apparently, it's to divide up California. Now, I do know about this. This has actually been an idea for a while now.
California California was once proposed to be divided. The idea was to split California into 3 states, or even 6 states. This new division would have allowed each new state to have their own government so that they could work even better. But there weren't enough voters for either of the proposals, so the state legislature and Congress dumped this idea.
It's literally never going to happen. California's just too big of a state, almost 40 million people, more than the entire nation of Canada. Actually, you know what? Maybe not anymore. Canada's been letting in a lot of new people. And then, of course, there's always this statistic. If California was its own country, it'd be the 5th largest economy in the world. That's insane. And then just, you know, purely on a cultural level, I feel like Northern California is so significantly different than Southern California, where I'm from. Like, they really do feel like we should not be a part of the same state. But yeah, like I said in the very beginning, this is never going to happen, obviously. In the universe, all right, kids, on your test, you must memorize all 55 states. This is a big reason why a lot of the kids probably wouldn't want this. You don't want to remember even more states. There's already 50. Maybe that's why we don't want to add any more states, not to make it harder for our students. What if the Qing Dynasty came back? Now, the Qing Dynasty would be a lot bigger than modern day China. Not a lot bigger, but a pretty good amount bigger. In fact, the Qing Dynasty was the 4th largest empire in human history. They controlled more than 10% of the Earth's surface. They had a ton of territory out here in Russian Siberia, and then the entire nation of Mongolia, which really propelled them forward. Oh, and then don't forget, they also still had the island of Taiwan back then. But you know what? If they came back today, they wouldn't be adding that much new population. China still has, China has almost 1.5 billion people. Getting this extra territory would be big in terms of just extra land, but not in terms of that many more people.
And they would do is organize uprisings, which the Chinese government would try to quickly destroy.
That would be very difficult.
From the U.S., they would be able to.
Don't they need the Qing Dynasty monarchy? Is there has to? I think there is a living guy, right? There's a living member, or did the Chinese government get rid of him? Apparently, there are actually members of the old Qing Dynasty. He would be the heir apparent. Oh, that's right. I forgot the Japanese put this guy in charge of Manchuria during World War II.
But with the help from the U.S.,
I feel like this would be the most unrealistic part
and gain control over the China. They would move into.
Yeah, I feel like that part is making it like really difficult. Like, can we just pretend like it just comes back tomorrow and just to see what they would do?
Back Mongolia, who wouldn't have a single chance against them. They would move in to attack North Korea now. And with them not expecting this attack, they would be destroyed.
Oh, that's right. Remember, Korea was not a part of the Qing Dynasty, but it was a tributary state along with other neighboring nations. Mainly a lot of places in Southeast Asia as well as Nepal as well. So they'd probably try to get all that stuff back too. So they're going in after North Korea.
Japan would be their next target, but the U.S. would finally have enough. They would wait for them to send their soldiers to Japan and would destroy their soldiers. However, they would have problems with landing on their soil. But with Russia joining in to help the U.S., they wouldn't have a single chance and would be dismantled.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Maybe if this uprising completely destroyed, which, civil wars tend to do that. Look at the Spanish Civil War, for instance. Spain fought that all before World War II. They completely destroyed their country and they really couldn't enter World War II, even though maybe they would have wanted to. Civil wars do tend to be pretty destructive, so maybe because of that, maybe they had so many casualties and just like everything was gone in the country. Even then, and even with the combined forces of the US and Russia, I don't know, really. China doesn't even need to be the Qing Dynasty for me to be like, not sure about that. A modern day USA and a modern day Russia just completely capitulating the current China? No way. Yeah, I'm not buying that. The American and Russian populations combined wouldn't even get close to half the population of China. Don't forget, China has like the world's second biggest economy, second biggest military. Unless we like just nuke the crap out of them, but then China would just nuke the crap out of us. I don't know. China targets Japan, USA protect our enemy. Japan, Russia helping USA, that's wild. Yeah, but that does make the scenario a little bit more interesting. I liked that. I don't know why I'm really hooked on this scenario, but even if it was the USA and the Soviet Union, I don't think they would just be able to demolish China like that. Like, not saying that they wouldn't win battles and take territory, but just winning an outright war against the Chinese, I think that would not be the case. Russia can't even completely capitulate Ukraine, so China, you know what I'm saying? The video is by 60-Second Club, nice job. The 7 most anti-democratic nations in the world.
Identify as democratic.
The video is called The 7 Anti-Democratic Countries. These are just nations that don't identify as democratic. And we just talked about this earlier this week. I think these nations are absolute chads, actually. They don't even pretend to be democratic.
These are the
Vatican, Saudi Arabia, Qatar,
Oman,
who else? Bahrain,
Emirates, Afghanistan,
and
Brunei.
North Korea. Sorry, North Korea is the famous example that does claim to be democratic. Yeah, they're chads. I respect it. So many people pretend to be democracies. There's so many nations that pretend to be democracies, and we all know that they're not. At least these nations are just upfront with it, like, nah, we just don't roll like that. North Korea, we are the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. It's just actually shocking. There's only 7 nations that obviously claim, hey, we're not a democracy, guys. Just want to let everyone know. Like, can we get a little bit more honest nations Republicans out there, please. This guy's claiming technically the Vatican is or could be considered a democracy because the cardinals vote for the Pope. I feel like a lot of countries just claim to be a democracy to keep their population chill, to calm them down. That's probably what it all comes down to, actually. The video is by Globadick David. Nice job. Love these videos, and I love to see how every creator decides to take them. This is what if Germany won World War II. We've obviously seen this scenario many times, but I like to see how people try to justify each alt histories.
The whole timeline of World War II would have to change.
Obviously, yes, definitely.
After invading France and occupying Paris in June of 1940, Germany should have first invaded Italy and Britain before breaking the non-aggression pact.
Why Italy? Okay, already I'm like having some problems with this. Italy was their ally.
With the Soviet Union. Once Germany had proven to be a superpower by occupying France, Italy, and Britain, Nazis should have given the remaining allies an ultimatum that would make sure Germany and its new land would be at peace. This would make Germany a winner in World War II. Because of this, the Cold War would never occur. The United States wouldn't be a superpower, and NATO wouldn't exist. Years later, Germany would have relations with Russia, and if Ukraine ever decided to become independent...
Why? Okay, first, oh my goodness. All right. It's crazy how opinionated I've got about this topic. I guess I've talked about this alternative history scenario for so long, for like literally years. Like, yeah. Well, to start things off, we have the modern day borders of Germany, not Germany's World War II borders like they should have. Also, remember Germany was at war with the lowlands, every single country here, at Denmark, with Norway. Poland, they don't have Poland? Let me rewatch this video.
Paris in June of 1940, Germany should have first invaded Italy and Britain before
Wait, hold on. Maybe I'm missing something at the very beginning.
This to happen, the whole timeline of World War II would have to change. After invading France and occupying Paris in June of...
Okay, so he's maybe just claiming just straight up invade France, but because he's not including the lowland nations, this would assume that they wouldn't go around the Maginot Line. And remember, that's why they capitulated France so quickly in the first place, is they went around this massive fortification, went through the lowlands, all these countries took them over real quick, and then bam, got to Paris like what, 6 weeks? Yeah, it was 6 weeks starting in May 1940, yeah. So yeah, obviously this scenario is not working, but that's fine. And then going after Italy, and then they should have Poland already, unless this scenario is claiming that Germany shouldn't even have attacked Poland in the first place, but they did that really, yeah, okay. Yeah, the comment section is talking about everything that I was talking about. I mean, overall, the ideas here are probably correct. I mean, it all really just comes down to the Germans not invading the Soviet Union. It's usually how these scenarios go. Still enjoyed the video, Geocon. Nice job. Safest places inside of Russia if World War III to break out. We kind of already talked about this briefly in the beginning of this video, but I like that we are actually focusing on Russia here. It kind of seems obvious. You just go anywhere in Siberia. Leave the west, go as far out to the east as possible.
Firstly, I'd consider Siberia,
obviously,
and specifically cities like Omsk,
yes,
Tomsk,
that is a very good idea. Any city that's next to the border, let's say China's not involved in World War III, which is unlikely because China probably would. If we're talking about a world war status, China would be involved. But if you go to border cities, specifically border cities that are next to neighboring countries that are not involved, that are staying neutral, you're going to be safe from probably getting nuked because, you know, the Allies aren't going to want to nuke a city that's close to a country that's not even involved in it.
They're large and less likely to get hit. Moreover, the Sakhalin...
I wish that they mentioned, I mean... His reasoning was they're large and they're less likely to get hit. But yeah, whatever.
Islands would be safe enough.
Those would be great. That's what I was thinking. Any of the islands that Russia controls, especially that island that Russia dropped the Tsar bomba on. I don't know if you want to be up there in the first place. You might get some nuclear radiation. But yeah, I mean, anything up here. There's a reason why the USSR decided to drop the biggest nuclear bomb in human history up here. It's because nobody was up here. I would assume the Allies wouldn't even drop any nuclear weapons here again, unless they just wanted to do it for tradition's sake. But yeah, definitely love the idea of like Russian islands for sure.
European Russia. Kamchatka Peninsula.
Yes.
Is also
oh yeah, because nobody lives there either. That's also a great idea. Yes.
Lastly, the Altain Mountains is considerable. Its rugged terrain could serve as a natural barrier against
That's a good point. I never considered that. That's smart. It's funny because doesn't Russia have YouTube banned? So they're not even gonna be able to like use this video for advice or anything like that. Bro really answered specifically cities. I do. Yeah. Nice job, InfoHub. Please go sub to all these channels. And big thanks to my patrons. Month 3 in Drew's basement. Drew's Argentinian Grandpa. ZaneyBoi. KirinoIsBestGirl. The Mexican 760. Tambre. Mgmluthegoat. Tyrol. Luxembourg. Kansas. The Canadian Christmas Goose. KingBearHaze. InquisitorXarius. Fredrik Tibblin. Pavlik. Carmel Saida. And Archaeology.